So as we're heading into Week 14, Jameis is praying to be saved from pick sixes from above. Meanwhile, the Broncos, they're actually in the playoff picture. They're the 7 seed currently as it stands. They would face the Bills in Buffalo, so that is certainly not an easy task. Kansas City, they are the top seed in the AFC. If you look over to the NFC, the Lions hold that top seed. But let's go back to the AFC because right now there are 3 AFC West teams that are in the playoffs: KC, the Chargers, and the Broncos. Let's welcome in our own John Breech as the playoff picture is slowly coming into focus. And to a lot of folks' surprises, it's not just the Chiefs that we're talking about in that division that are potentially in the playoffs there as it stands right now. We have 3 AFC West teams, as you just saw there, Breech. Again, not so shocking with KC, but, you know, there was a lot of questions with the Harbaugh era with the Chargers. What's Bo Nix going to look like with the Broncos? When it's all said and done, how many teams from the AFC West do you think get in? Is it going to be 3?
Well, Jacqueline, I was doing the math before this, and I'm not good at math, but this one's pretty simple. You have the Chargers at 8 wins. You have the Broncos at 8 wins. And then you really don't have anyone chasing those 2 teams. You have the Colts at 6 and 7. You have the Dolphins at 5 wins. And so this really feels like a situation where as long as the Chargers and the Broncos don't choke down the stretch, it does feel like we are going to see 3 AFC West teams in the playoffs. I mean, you look at the Broncos going on to this Week 14 bye. After that, in Week 15, they play the Colts. If Denver wins that game, it feels like a rock-solid done deal. All the drama in the AFC is over because it feels like at that point we're getting a Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, all 3 of them in the playoffs. You do look at the Chargers. Their schedule down the stretch isn't easy. Obviously, they have the Chiefs on Sunday night. They still have to play the Broncos. They still have to play this resurgent Buccaneers team. So not a lot of easy games, but they close the season with the Patriots and Raiders. So, again, if they can get to 10 or 11 wins, just go 3-2 over those final 5 games, it really feels like they're going to get in. And I have to think the way the Chargers have been playing, the way the Broncos have been playing, that both those teams will get to 10 wins, probably 11 wins. And I think the AFC West will be getting 3 teams in for the first time since 2013.
And you know what, Breech, it wasn't that long ago, last season where we were talking about the AFC North potentially getting 3 teams into the playoffs. Right now it's the Steelers. Who would have thought in the offseason that they would be sitting atop of the division? The Ravens, they're not too far behind there trying to close that gap. If you look at the remaining schedules for both of these teams, Breech, who do you think ends up on top in the AFC North?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because obviously the Ravens are behind right now at 8 and 5. But when I look at how the rest of the season might play out, I think I'm taking Baltimore. I'm going to call my bookie. I'm going to put a bet in on Baltimore because you just look at what the Ravens have down the stretch. Guess what? They get a week off. Getting a week off this late in the season could be a godsend for them because, look, you get the rest, and the Steelers are going to be out there playing. And then you look at who Baltimore has. They have winnable games down the stretch. They still have to play the Giants, and obviously they have that huge game against Pittsburgh, but that one is at home. And the odds kind of reflect that the Steelers don't really feel like a runaway at this point. So obviously the key game is that Ravens-Steelers game in Baltimore. If the Ravens win that, there is no reason they can't win this division. But I think they're, on paper, the more talented team. It's just a matter of they can't have any more slip-ups. There is no more margin for error. There's no more margin for Justin Tucker to be missing field goals. The Ravens have to put up or shut up now. I do think they will do that coming out of their bye. And I think they will steal this division back from the Pittsburgh Steelers and end up as the AFC North champions.
Steelers fans are saying, hey, I think I see some of those Bengals helmets in the background of that guy's frame there. Let's talk about the AFC as a whole, which your answer there parlays well into this next topic. The most dangerous team in the AFC, and you have the Ravens.
Yeah, you know what? I think, Jacqueline, a lot of people right now would put the Buffalo Bills on the list, but I have the Baltimore Ravens. And the reason for that is I think their 8-5 record is a little bit deceiving. Those 5 losses have come by a total of 22 points. Justin Tucker in those 5 games has missed 22 points worth of kicks. So if Justin Tucker had been kicking like normal Justin Tucker that we've seen throughout his career, the Ravens would be probably 12-1 or 11-2 at this point. So this team has been playing unbelievable football. And let's not forget, they beat down the Bills earlier this season. Baltimore beat Buffalo 35-10 in a game that was not close. They played the Chiefs. They lost because Isaiah Likely just barely couldn't get his toe in bounds. And you look at what they've done to other playoff contenders. They beat the Broncos 41-10. They manhandled Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. They've just been beating up on every AFC playoff team that's been put in front of them, except for the Steelers. But again, Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals in that 2-point loss. And if he hits those, that feels like a game Baltimore probably wins. So as long as Justin Tucker can get his head on straight during this bye week, maybe send him to Tahiti, I don't know. But as long as he comes back from the bye hitting some field goals, I think Baltimore's the most dangerous team in the AFC.
And for Baltimore, we know it's all about the postseason, right? We've seen them be fantastic in the regular season with Lamar and this squad, but it all comes down to the postseason for them. Let's go to the NFC because currently the Lions, they are the 1 seed, but the Eagles have been emerging as a team that could potentially be a threat. Who's the most dangerous team in the NFC, in your opinion, John?
Well, I'm going to get some hate mail from Minnesota and maybe from a few other teams, Washington. But for me, I feel like there's only 3 NFC teams that can get to the Super Bowl. I feel like it's the Detroit Lions, obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Green Bay Packers. And out of those 3, I think the most dangerous team is absolutely Detroit. They've just been beating up on every single team they've played this year. Even their one loss was kind of fluky against the Buccaneers when they outgained them by a couple hundred yards. And the ball just bounced against them. But Detroit is just so good everywhere. I mean, you look at their skill players, Dave Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, they can just run the ball 40 times and beat you. If Jared Goff is on his game, they're going to win. If Jared Goff is off his game, they're going to win. I mean, we saw a game where Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions and the Lions still won. And that tells you how well-rounded they are, that their defense can compensate for a bad game from the quarterback, that if Goff is struggling, they can turn around and give it to Sonic and Knuckles. So I think the Lions, because of how well-rounded that roster is, are the most dangerous team in the NFC. And I hope I just didn't jinx them.
Okay, let's go to the NFC West. I keep calling it the wild, wild NFC West because it's crazy that at this point in the season, it's kind of anybody's game there. We have a huge matchup we're going to talk about later here on the show with the Seahawks and the Cardinals. That is on CBS. But when you look at it, Breech, down the stretch here, who do you think comes out on top? The Seahawks, the Cardinals? There's like some way that we could have a 4-way tie at 9-8. That's still possible, which is insane.
Well, I think that one is the most logical at this point. But let me check my piece of paper because my pick for who wins the NFC West changes every 24 hours.
Yeah.
The 49ers are still in this. Let's not pretend like they're out of it, even though they're 5-7. But when you look at this division, it's been total chaos over the past few weeks. But I think I like the Seahawks just because they have that edge right now. They're 1 game ahead of everybody. And I think if they can get a win in Arizona on Sunday, that will be that giant step forward. We'll see those odds change drastically in Seattle's favor if they pull out the win, which I do think they can do. And you look at the schedules all of these teams play down the stretch. I mean, they're all going to play each other. The Cardinals have to play the Rams and the 49ers to end the season. So those aren't going to be easy games to win. The Seahawks still have to play the Packers and the Vikings after they play Arizona. So those are 2 games they could certainly lose. But I think if any one of these teams, you mentioned a 4-way tie at 9-8, if any team can get to 10 wins, I think that is the team that wins this division. And right now, just because the Seahawks have that head start, they only need to go 3-2 over their final 5 games. I am going to begrudgingly and nervously take the Seattle Seahawks to win the NFC West.
I mean, to your point, Breech, every time we pull up the odds for the division, it's in a different order. Somebody's at the top. Somebody else has plus money. It's like it's hard to keep up. Breech, we appreciate it. Talking about the playoff picture for the AFC, the NFC, as we enter Week 14 in the NFL. And, of course, our NFL Today crew, Jeremy, they are hitting the road again. This time they're heading to Detroit ahead of Bills Lions, live from Detroit, Sunday, CBS at noon Eastern. The last time they went on the road, they were jumping through tables. Of course, that's like a Buffalo thing, but they're live from Detroit this time. So we'll see what happens. The crew always has fun. Again, Sunday, noon Eastern, coming your way.